In 1882, German philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche declared, "God is dead, God remains dead, and we have killed him." Nietzsche was reflecting on the profound shift in human consciousness that had been brought about by modern society, science, and rationality. The traditional gods of old that had propped up the rule of emperors, kings, and aristocracy for thousands of years had been killed off by the forces of modernization. Beginning with the Protestant Reformation, the Renaissance, and the Enlightenment, and finally the rise of capitalism, these forces of modernity created a new God. The individual himself became an unfettered God, with the strongest and fittest in a contest for survival. But now, our entire world has arrived at a potential new epoch, a great awakening, as we recognize that, in fact, we, nature, and the vast cosmos, together, all comprise God.
Semillas Community Center is a working-class think tank and action center. We have a plan, sowing the seeds of transformation.
Greetings from Semillas, a working-class think tank and action center. Today, we conclude our four-part series where we at Semillas put forward our general orientation towards creating a path forward for America's working people. We examined what we see are the primary problems confronting us, which are war and debt hosted on us by the U.S. ruling elites. And as a community-based think tank, we stated that our role is in helping working people to move forward by proposing a path we must take. We propose 3 areas of focus in order to move forward: independent political action, alternative economic development, and finally, today, we will discuss creating a basis for a spiritual moral regeneration that will reverse the moral decay consuming our society today. As inferred in the introduction, humanity has used religion as a mighty tool in the rise of civilizations. In the beginning, by justifying the rule of emperors, kings, and aristocracy, with God used as justifying the rule of one all-powerful figure, to the modern era, where God is used as the ideological basis for extreme individualism. But now, our entire world has arrived at a potential new epoch, a great awakening, as we recognize that, in fact, we, nature, and the vast cosmos around us together are God. And our ability to instantaneously communicate with one another globally and to comprehend our human condition everywhere in real time is spurring a new moral order that will align the concepts of all the great religions that have preceded us into one simple, peaceful way of living. God is the concept by which we live our lives. Humans have been on a spiritual quest for tens of thousands of years, ever since we began searching for explanations to our human condition. Why death? Why suffering and pain? So many things we needed explaining. Though we originally emerged as just another animal species, millions of years later, we became the only species on Earth able to convey these thoughts into a historical legacy of spirit-seeking doctrines. Humans originally emerged as one with nature, but by 100,000 years ago, we had clearly become the dominant force over nature. And thereafter, the notion arose that we had been chosen by God. We had been purposely chosen by God to rule the natural world. And soon thereafter, where humans once perceived themselves as being all the same, distinct cultures and civilizations arose that distinguished us and separated us from here on in. As great civilizations arose, they were each guided by distinct gods that offered certainty of that civilization's greatness as it clashed against other contending civilizations. Zeus, Ra, Marduk, Vishnu, Quetzalcoatl, these gods were channeled through the ruling emperors and kings of their time. And the gods' edicts, translated through high priests, provided the common laboring people with a certainty and purpose in life for thousands of years. But then came the time when man overthrew the reigning gods through the liberation of the individual. First, Martin Luther's Protestant Reformation in 1517 proclaimed that the common man didn't need kings or emperors or popes to communicate with God. Soon after, Western science under Galileo and Copernicus smashed the earth-centered view of the cosmos, and leading all the way to our understanding today of humans' infinitely minute position within the universe. And capitalism encapsulated this new paradigm, with Adam Smith's Wealth of Nations published in 1776, describing how man had become truly free by this new system, where individual self-gain had replaced the all-powerful gods that had once guided us. 250 years later, we must marvel at the incredible wealth and improved economic development created by this global system, where we are all mere atoms seeking our self-interest. But this has led to many problems of modernity, like extreme individualism, alienation, moral and spiritual degeneration, because there is no unifying force to keep us together anymore. Your God, her God, my God are all different and contending with each other. And on an international level, the old gods of yesterday are still being used as sock puppets to justify the aggression of one civilization against the other. How ironic that humanity has progressed to such incredible heights, yet it is slowly decaying from the inside due to a lack of a spiritual foundation. Much of our society has lost its moral compass. As individuals, many of us have lost all purpose in life, lonely and alienated, because we killed off the old gods and left with crass individual self-interest, a debilitating narcissism. The situation has become so disheartening that the world's population is going to crash in the near future due to this lack of human affection for each other. We have become a shallow society, mere shells of what it means to be a human being. But within all the signs of despair and decay, there are emerging signs of a human spiritual revival, of a great awakening. First, through science and the study of our nature, we are rediscovering God. Science, which has led us to our initial revolution in human awareness and the overthrow of God in the first place, has made enormous discoveries that link us from the level of the atoms that we are made of to the great cosmic creation. We are actually part of a great clockwork-like mechanism. We are all part of one vast, mysterious, and miraculous system. And we little human beings are able to express this miracle through our daily lives. We are, in actuality, the voice of God in the universe. This is a marvel that we should praise every day. And the vast advances in the study of humans and of nature in general has also led us to discover God, that godliness is actually built into our very nature. It's inside of us. This entity that we have all been searching for out in the cosmos is actually baked inside of each and every one of us. Our ancestor, Lucy, an Australopithecus, who walked this earth 3.5 million years ago, had this godliness, just as we can see that many other species do in the animal kingdom. You see, what we have found is that we are all imbued with an inherent godliness. Lucy displayed empathy and compassion for her offspring, shared food, helped in distress. Neanderthals mourned their dead and buried their relatives with parting memories, just like we do today. We see these godly characteristics widespread, even in studying the animal kingdom. It's found in whales, elephants, gorillas, dolphins. These are the inherent traits that are built up inside of us and perhaps part of our whole biological nature. That goodness, that godliness is inside of us. God is inside of all of us and is expressed in our production of goodness, of goodwill, expressed by our daily actions. Not because we expect to be rewarded in the afterlife, but because it is who we are. We are all part of God. Is this a different conception of God than you're used to hearing about? That the works of God emerge from inside of us rather than in some organized institution claiming to represent the nature of God? But if this is so, how do we explain all the violence and chaos we see around us today? If it is in the nature of humans to express godliness, then why is history so often the story of war and destruction and the horrific treatment of human beings? There are two basic reasons for this. First, the natural order of things is also imbued with vast violence due to the struggle for existence, as witnessed in the animal kingdom. This propensity for violence is also in our own historical DNA and is something that we have partly overcome as human beings through the use of organized religion and culture. Second, put simply and straightforwardly, the wrong people have continuously seized power throughout human history. Because the common man and woman, guided by compassion, empathy, and goodwill, do not even think about seizing power in the first place. History may well be the story of psychologically unstable, sociopathic, or even psychopathic personalities taking control for their own distorted benefit. Think about that. While we would assert that the vast sector of humanity possesses this inner godliness, we have been generally led by very eccentric, very self-serving types of personalities that have seized and commanded power throughout history. And if not by these unstable leaders, then the vile and cunning forces that place those leaders in power in the first place. While the common man and woman desires peace and prosperity, it is the power mongers, the warmongers, that have usually seized the reins of power over everyone else. And it is these unstable, self-centered people who have usually acted in the name of an all-powerful God that legitimizes war, conquest, pillage, and destruction. We must acknowledge the tremendous harm that has been caused by organized religion using God's name. And this continues to this very day, even though the vast majority of humans recognize this to be wrong. This was apparent 2,000 years ago when Jesus Christ, in the Sermon on the Mount, proclaimed, "The meek shall inherit the earth." But his own story demonstrates that the forces of godliness are always opposed by the forces of evil, just as they are today. The expression of God has been controlled by the wrong forces, emperors, kings, and aristocracy of yesterday, the rich and powerful, the politicians today. But now, the Great Awakening propels Jesus' message, "The meek shall inherit the earth." Keep in mind that meek, in Jesus' time, taken from the Greek word praeus, didn't mean being passive, weak, or frail, but actually connotated a highly respected virtue of leaders and warriors. It implied a deliberate restraint, a refusal to exact personal revenge. Meek means strength and power under control, not weakness. And here is another statement from the Sermon on the Mount. "Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God." Today we find ourselves in an epical battle between good and evil, and the peacemakers among the meek are being called to step forward. In fact, the meek, the common working man and woman, need a metaphorical warrior case to lead us in this battle. We need an army of holy warriors, not to wage war, but to bring about peace and prosperity for us all. God has been controlled by the wrong forces, the rich and the powerful, but now the meek need to pursue the process by which they do inherit the earth. And this will require men and women, but especially men, to step forward and serve the role of protector of the family and community as they were always meant to do. The status of men has been debased in modern society, and one could argue that they have been emasculated purposely. Spiritual rejuvenation will come forth when we step forward and assume the role required of us, which is forging a path forward so that the meek may inherit the earth. And this path is outlined in Semillas' 3 previous videos in this series, where we underline the need for the U.S. working class to seek political independence from this nation's rulers, where we wrest control over our tax dollars so that we can shut the war economy down and use these funds to create an alternative economy that focuses on making and providing the basic essentials we need. And just as importantly, the peacemaker's path towards political and economic independence is the foundation for creating spiritual liberation. It is through our transformative works and actions that we bring forth our inner godliness. Through our labor, through meaningful work, creating meaningful lives, we create the basis for the spiritual regeneration that we have lost. This is all part of a million-year process of human becoming and finally awakening. And we have now come to a fundamental understanding of who we really are as human beings and what it is that we need to survive on a daily basis, in peace, without constant conflict. This global consciousness is sort of a collective human brain being created. We can say it is part of God's will that is unfolding. And you are being called forth to participate in this incredible process. Semillas is here to help you on this path, wherever you are, to be a more effective leader and peacemaker. Please like and subscribe to these videos. Contact us directly. Help financially to support this effort. And until next time, spread the gospel, the good news, that the peacemakers are changing the world.